Today, we're going to be taking a look at the famous Pultec EQ. I'm going to be breaking down all of the parameters and showing you how this thing works. So let's hop right in and get to it. Okay, so first off, as you can see, I have the Pultec EQ loaded here. Now, this is the Waves audio version, but many companies do have their own plugin emulation of this equalizer. So feel free to use any version that you like. They're all going to have the same controls. Now, on first glance, this plugin can kind of look confusing. Most people who are using EQs are more familiar with this style of EQ, where you can kind of visually see what's going on. But the cool thing about the Pultec and really any analog style EQ in general is that they all have their own unique tone that they add to the audio signal. So if you look over here on the left side of the plugin, you have the low frequency section. Now you have a knob to boost the low end, and then you have a knob to attenuate or cut the low end. And then down here below the boost and attenuation knobs, you have the low frequency selector. So you can choose to boost or cut at 20 Hertz, 30 Hertz, 60 Hertz, or 100 Hertz. So let's go ahead and set this to 60 Hertz. Now what I have here below the Pultec is the EQ Curve Analyzer plugin. This is similar to the Plugin Doctor, and it's basically just going to show us what's going on when we boost or cut with an analog style EQ. Because with an analog EQ, there's no visual graph or spectrum to kind of see what's going on. All you have is knobs and switches. So let's go ahead and boost here at 60 Hertz, and you can see here when I grab the boost knob and increase it, we kind of have this low shelf curve going on down here in the low end. Now, what's really cool about the Pultec is that you can use the boost knobs and the attenuation knobs together. So let's go ahead and raise the attenuation knob. And what you're gonna see is we're gonna start to get this dip effect right here, right above the frequencies that we're boosting with that low shelf, right? So in theory, you would think if you attenuated what you just boosted that they would cancel each other out. But as you can see here on the EQ Curve Analyzer, this is not the case, right? We're getting this unique style of EQ curve that can kind of be pleasing to the ear if you experiment with it. And that's what this EQ is very famous for, is using the boosting and the attenuation knobs together in tandem to create a unique EQ curve. So let's go ahead and reset the low frequency section. Now over here in the middle of the plugin, we have the high frequency section. So on the high frequency selector, you can choose from 3,000, 4,000, 5,000, 8,000, 10,000, 12,000, or 16,000 Hertz. And then right above you have the boost knob. So this is acting similar to what's going on in the low frequency section. The only difference is that the attenuation knob is not linked to the high frequency selector, right? So right here, if I started raising the attenuation knob, it's not gonna pull down on 3,000 Hertz. The attenuation knob is actually linked over here to the attenuation selector. So on the attenuation selector, you can choose between 5,000, 10,000, and 20,000 Hertz. So let's go ahead and set our high frequency selector to 12,000 Hertz. And as I start to raise the boost knob, you'll see that we're gonna start to get an increase up here in the top end of our signal. Now, what's cool about the high frequency section of this EQ plugin is that you have this bandwidth knob right here. And this controls how wide or how narrow the boost is going to be in the top end. So the bandwidth knob is very similar to the Q control that you would find on most modern EQs. All the way to the left is going to be a very sharp and tight boost. And then all the way to the right is going to be a much more broad and wide, gentle curve, as you can see down here on the analyzer. Now, as I mentioned earlier, here in the top end, we do have an attenuation knob, and it's set at 20,000 Hertz right now. So if I bring the attenuation knob up, you're gonna start to see a dip occur at the 20,000 Hertz mark. And that's gonna be another way for you to kind of make a unique EQ curve in the top end of your audio signal. And remember, you can always adjust the attenuation selector to make that curve even more unique. And you can dip either before or after or in the middle of your boost that you're doing to the top end. Now below the attenuation selector, you have this mains knob right here. And this is a power current simulation thing that's going on, and it's gonna mimic that humming noise that you would get from electronics and analog hardware. Now, I personally always leave this setting off, But if you were to set it to like 60 hertz, you can see down here what it's actually doing to your signal. All right, so now that you know how the Pultec works, let's go ahead and test this thing out on some vocals. And what I'm gonna do is boost the top end to kind of bring out some of the top end sheen and brightness of the vocal. But the way that this plugin works, it adds that brightness without making the vocal too harsh. So let's go ahead and dial it in.
Hold it all together, oh, 'cause happiness is free. But it seems that nothing can change the fact that it never lasts forever, no. Thought I knew it all, didn't learn from things I saw. Knew I was caught up in the moment, guess it's all my fault. But I can't take nothing back, doesn't matter where I'm at. All I know deep inside is that, and never again will I waste my days afraid of letting go. And never again will I be the one who's hurt but won't let it show. I took the lonely way home on a back road, but the windows roll down as the wind blows.
All right, so right there you heard as I turned the plugin off, the vocal just took a step back. And then when I turned the plugin back on, that high frequency boost that I did at 10,000 hertz, it really made the vocal come alive and it just added that smooth brightness to the top end. All right, so let's go ahead and take a listen to how this thing sounds on the 808 that's in this track. I have the 808 soloed. All right, so as you heard right there, I obviously overdid it at the end so you could really hear what the boost was doing at 60 hertz, but it's just making that low end thump. And honestly, when you do things like this, you have to use the output gain knob to level match your audio signal because you don't want to just be fooled by making things louder. You want to make sure that you're really listening to how this plugin is affecting the tone, the difference that it's adding to the signal. Now, something else I see that a lot of people do is they load the Pultec directly on their mix bus or their master channel, and they don't do any boosting or cutting. All they're doing is running the mix through the plugin for the color. So let's go ahead and take a listen to how this thing sounds with the entire mix running through the plugin. Obviously, you're not going to hear a difference if you're on some phone speakers, so use a pair of studio monitors or headphones when you're listening.
So, and never again will I waste my days afraid of letting go. And never again will I be the one who's hurt but won't let it show. I took the lonely way home on a back road, but the windows roll down as the wind blows. I'm tired of giving up and I'm tired of giving in. I tried to make it right but never again. Oh, 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 no, never again, no, never again.
Okay, so like I said, it's obviously very subtle, but it's just another way for you to add some character to your mix. Okay, so hopefully by now y'all feel comfortable with how the Pultec EQ works and you gain some value from this tutorial. Please comment down below if you have any questions and I'll see y'all in the next video.